This is the beginner version of my original 12-minute calorie killer. There's no jumping and no equipment needed for this workout, but I'm gonna walk you through each exercise. You can also find an intermediate and advanced version and a combo version of all three, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, down below in the description. But we're gonna jump into this workout first, starting with W plank walks. We're down in a plank and we are stepping forward and stepping back one leg at a time, either bringing our knees into our chest or bringing one knee to one elbow. So we are creating the shape of a W with our legs. So you're gonna bring your legs in first, and then you're gonna tap one knee to one elbow, bring your legs in again, tap your other knee to your other elbow, and just keep alternating. We're pressing our palms into the floor, kind of push your chest away from the floor, hollowing it out a little bit. Keep your back contracted, keep your stomach contracted. Imagine all of your abs contracting in the center and then pulling up to the back of your spine, but do not stick your butt up. Don't let it sink. Make sure your entire upper body is fully engaged, squeezed, under control. It's stable, it's not moving. The only thing that's moving are your legs. Speed squats. Speed squats are all about moving through the squat as quickly as possible, and instead of your starting position being starting from standing into the squat, imagine your starting position is your squat position. So that way you kind of move through quickly at the top of your squat back down into the regular squat, and think about pausing at the bottom. So a traditional squat, your feet are hip distance apart, meaning one foot is on one side of your hip, your other foot is on the other side of your hip. It's not wider, it's not narrow within your hips. Your knees are going to be in line with your ankles. Don't let them swerve out, don't let them cave in, and sit back as far as you can. Imagine that you're sitting in a chair and keep your chest lifted. So I like to put my arms forward as I'm sitting back in my imaginary chair. Keeping my chest up is important because that will put a lot of that pressure back in that booty, which is what we're trying to work. We're trying to burn that butt, burn those hamstrings. Now we're going into a cross sumo squat where we're sweeping one leg over the other and then going immediately into a sumo squat, and then repeat on the other side. Just sweep that leg and move into a sumo squat, which is just a wide, regular squat. So your legs are a little bit wider than hip distance, or maybe a lot wider than hip distance. Go where it's comfortable. And you're using your inner thighs, squeezing that and pointing that toe when you sweep across. And then you're using your glute muscles and your hamstrings and your quads to go in and out of that sumo squat. You can use your arms as a counterbalance again here when you go down into that squat, so that you sit your butt back and your chest stays lifted here. Make sure to use your brain to think about what muscles you're using. So when you go down into that squat, I personally like to put most of my attention into thinking about my glutes, powering myself through that movement. And then when I do the sweep, I mentally focus on my inner thighs, powering that movement so I get the most out of this exercise. Now this is a squat crunch combo. So we're gonna have our hands behind our head and we're touching opposite elbow to opposite knee, twisting through our torso, creating a crunch. And after we hit both sides, then we're just gonna come down into a squat, raise our hands into the air, which also is gonna help keep our chest lifted, come back up and repeat. Keep that core engaged. When you lift your hands up and your core is engaged, keeping your chest lifted, not only are you gonna be targeting your glutes more in a squat, but your back is now working because you're lifting those hands up. You have to engage your upper back to keep those hands lifted, especially with the combination of sitting back into a squat. Your back is really working here. Just focus on squeezing those glutes, using your glutes as the power muscle to go up and down, and use your back muscles to keep your hands lifted up as straight as you can up towards that sky as you sit back in that squat. Now we're repeating. We're going back to those W plank walks. So get down to the ground, get into a plank. Your hands are right underneath your shoulders. Engage that core before you even start. Make sure your butt's not sticking up in the air and your back is not sinking and your butt's not sinking down below. And we're gonna step forward, step back, one knee to one elbow, step forward again, step back, other knee to other elbow. Your palms are pressing in the ground, pushing your chest away from the ground and expanding your shoulder blades so that your back is fully engaged, and then your core should be tight. You should be squeezing your core and pulling it up towards your spine. So basically imagine your stomach pulling up towards the sky, going against gravity as you keep moving your legs in and out to the side. Moving back into speed squats. So remember, we're moving quickly through the top and back down into our starting position, which is the squat position. Sit your butt back, keep your chest lifted, keep everything engaged. Try to think about powering through your glute muscles and your hamstrings. You're powering less through your quads. Everything else is just gonna stay engaged as you use those glute muscles and hamstring muscles to move your body, but everything else is nice and stable. The cross sumo squat again, so you're sweeping your leg over the other leg, using that inner thigh to power that movement. And when you go into the sumo squat, you're using your glutes and your hamstrings mostly for that movement. So keep your core engaged throughout the entire exercise. Move with speed, but form is first. Going back into the cross crunch plus squat combo. So we're squeezing our abs, pulling them in as we do those cross crunches, and then we're gonna lift our hands up to the sky as we sit back into a nice squat. Keep those knees in line with your ankles. Squeeze that upper back. Use those glutes to power through the movement. This is the final round, and we're doing the W plank walks for the last time. So get down on the ground, hands underneath your shoulders, press those palms away from the ground, keep those abs squeezed in and pulled up towards your spine, but keep your back nice and neutral. You can do a big W, you can do a small W. If you need to take smaller steps, make that choice with where you're at today. Speed squats again. So make sure your starting point is at the bottom as you move quickly through the top and back down into your squat position, sitting back like you're sitting in a chair. Legs are right underneath your hips. Use those arms as an opposing weight so that your chest stays lifted and you use more of your glute muscles to power through this movement. Last round for the cross sumo squat. Make sure to use those inner thigh muscles to power that sweeping motion in a controlled manner while you also sit nice and controlled into that sumo squat, and use your outer glute muscles to push your knees out so they stay over your feet and don't cave in. Squeeze that core, pull it in, use your glute muscles and your hamstrings to lift yourself up and bring yourself down into that sumo squat. Last exercise of the last round, we're doing the cross crunch and squat combo. So pull in those abs, squeeze them tight as you do that cross crunch. Lift up those arms nice and high, straight up to the sky as you sit back into your squat, and use those glute muscles and hamstrings to power yourself up through that squat. And that is it. You guys did it. Don't forget to check out the other versions down below in the description as well. See you guys next time.